Hi, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're making this double layer pop-up card. So you can see it's got two little pop-up sections on the inside of the card. In this case, I've made a little Father's Day card themed. Actually, you could write a little note down here or you could write on the back. It makes a little picture and happy days. Before we start making today's card, I just want to show you what I use. I make little templates. So linked below you will find a supplies list that will be in PDF format that you can print out. And from that you could actually construct your own little template with all the measurements on it, which is awesome for future reference. This card is particularly special because this is one here that I haven't completed yet. But this is originally designed as a top fold landscape card, but you can flip it around and you could make it a side fold portrait card. So the only thing that you would need to change is perhaps the orientation of your paper, depending on whether it was a directional paper or not. But otherwise you can use the same details, the same dimensions and the same way to construct your card to make either way. So we're going to start with 3 pieces of what I call construction weight or 250 GSM lightweight cardstock. Each one is 14.8 centimeters tall, one is 10 centimeters, this other smaller one here is 7 centimeters, and the one I took away was a 9 centimeter one, 9 centimeters wide. So this 7 centimeter one we are scoring at 1 centimeter, at 3.5 centimeters, and at 4.5 centimeters. The one that's the 14.8 by 10 centimeter piece, we're scoring at 2.5 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and 7.5 centimeters. I'm actually just flipping that around because my 7.5 is not quite in the center. When you're making a pop-up card, one of the important things to do is to make sure that your folds are very flexible. And we do this by making sure that we've scored it, that we fold it and burnish it with our bone folder. Then we fold it back the other way and burnish it again with our bone folder, and then fold it back the original way again and burnish it again. I'm going to do that with both of those pieces of cardstock. So this piece here I've got in my hand, the 1 centimeter, 2.5 centimeter. I'm actually going to trim off the open edge. I need to trim off both sides, so I just fold it in half and trim them. And I'm going to do the same to my other piece of cardstock. This was originally a 6 by 6 inch piece of pattern paper that I've cut to the 14.8 centimeter height, which is an A6 height, by the way, for the A6 card. This piece is 3.7 centimeters that I've cut off the right hand edge of the paper, and I'm sticking that on the right hand side of the inside of the card. Now I'm going to make my first pop-up mechanism. I'm using the smaller piece, and you can see that I've just turned around my card to make it easier for the construction. I'm popping glue. This is just the Smart Art glue that I use all of the time on that strip, that 1 centimeter strip. And I am going to, I just want to point out, you can see that I've got all the mountain folds coming up, but I've turned it over now so the mountain folds are going down, and I'm lining that up to, but not over, the center fold of the card. And I'm sticking that 1 centimeter strip on the front piece of the card, on the inside front piece of the card. So the rest of it that's not glued down, I've folded up in half. So now I've got that 2.5 centimeter piece that's makes up the other edge. I'm popping glue onto that, and I'm going to hold it in place and fold my card down onto it. So when you open it up, you can see it's formed a little box on the inside of your card. Now we need to work on the 9 centimeter by 14.8 centimeter piece of cardstock. So this is the next section on my 6 by 6 paper piece. This one is 6.5 centimeters wide by the 14.8 centimeters tall. And once again, I'm going to glue that onto the far right hand side of my 9 centimeter piece of cardstock, and it's going to leave a white strip down the edge. I'm then going to make sure that I've got a nice covering of glue on my pop-up mechanism that I already have in my card. I'm going to place, I've spun my card around again to make it easier for construction. I'm going to place my 9 centimeter piece face down on the inside front of the card, and I'm going to close the card onto it. And so when I open it up, it's got this lovely layer. So this is my last layer that's got to go onto there. It's the 2.5 by 2.5 centimeter little box piece. But I want my paper to flow nicely. So I've got my last strip of the pattern paper, which is 5 centimeters by 14.8 centimeters. I've glued it right down the center of that, that's that 14.8 by 10 centimeter card, and done the fold. So now I've popped glue on the 2.5 centimeter strip, and I'm lining my papers up so it leaves the paper nice and complete. Just like I did with the other pop-up mechanism, I am folding this one in half, putting glue on that 2.5 centimeter piece. I'm going to have to spin my card around here this time, holding that together and folding it in half. So this is the embellishment that I'm using. So this is a stamp and die that comes in the pack. You just have to be careful with whatever embellishment, that the width of the embellishment is not wider than the top edge of that second pop-up mechanism and the edge of the card. Because if it is, it'll hang out of the card. In this case, I'm just popping a little bit of glue on the tree, just on half of the tree. So when I place it in my card, I think I had a little bit of glue. I had to let that kind of sit there for a second. Gently pop it on there, and then you can close your card and press it down. All right, so there's our inside done. For the front, I just used some other pieces out of the Christmas kit that I was using. So in it, there are A6 pieces of glitter cardstock. I used my metric rectangles to cut, metric rectangle number 2 to cut the size I wanted to go on my card. I then used another one of the metric rectangles to cut out the center section. I used my Christmas greeting stamp that has matches with the various dies, the various label dies set, to make my label, which we'll get to a bit more. So I'm just gluing around the edge of that little frame that I've made and popping that on my card. You can see that because my card is A6, I use my metric rectangles, and it just gives me a nice even space all around the outside. I've cut out my paper to go on top of that again, and that once again gives me a nice little layer. I'm just gluing, so this was just a scrap piece of card that I stamped on Yay It's Christmas onto, and I'm gluing that onto a little bit of the matching glitter card. And the circles that I cut using the label dies. I'm just going to attach a bow, and I'm just putting that bulldog clip on it till it dries. Now that it's dry, I've just cut out from scrap cardboard. I've talked about in previous videos on the back to give it a little bit of dimension, and I'm going to stick it on the front. So the front of our card is really nice and unassuming, and that's because all the action is happening on the inside. So there's our 3D pop-up scene on the inside, and it's lovely. You can add a few more embellishments or bits and pieces as you like, but as long as you've got the basic understanding of how it all works. So I really hope that you've learned something today, and if you had, the best way that you can say thank you is by subscribing and hitting the thumbs up for my video today, maybe sharing it with your friends. I've put a link down below for our Facebook group. It's called Clever Paper Crafters, and we've got all sorts of pictures on there. We do a class every Friday night online, and so you'll see lots of other examples of this particular card, and we would love to see yours if you decide to give it a go. Anyway, until next time, I hope you all stay safe and happy crafting.